Life should be 1 part laughter and 2 parts good times. Life should be 1 part ridiculous and 2 parts sublime. 1 part whistle, 2 parts hum. Life should be 1 part Seagrams, 2 parts fun. Life should be 1 part bargains and 2 parts sales. Life should be money from home and a check in the mail. A double bonus for a job well done. Life should be 1 part Seagrams, 2 parts fun. Nobody beats the whiz, yeah.
Nobody beats the whiz.
That's just the way it is. Oh yeah, nobody beats the whiz, yeah.
Nobody beats the whiz.
That's just the way it is.
Whistle at night shoes, the whistle at night shoes. Nobody beats the whiz.
Nobody beats the whiz. Nobody beats the whiz.
Nobody beats the whiz. What's up, Doc?
Hey everybody, I'm Shelly Palmer and welcome to Shelly Palmer Live. It's Wednesday, August 9th. Amazingly beautiful here today in New York. We are on the east side of Manhattan overlooking the East River. It's such an amazing day. Went out for a great walk this morning and saw all kinds of people having a good time. Hope you're having a good time too. Chat is where it's at, so please tell me who you are, where you are, what you're doing. Today is an AMA like every Wednesday, so if you have a question, put it in chat. I'll be very, very happy to get to it. We're going to cover all kinds of fun things today and do a couple of demos. We're going to look at AudioCraft, which is Meta's text-to-sound model or text-to-audio model. And then we're going to talk a little bit about whether AI is playing music or notes. We're going to look at OpenAI's GPT bot, and we're going to also look at the way that Zoom's AI policies might be changing all the things we understand about Zoom. Pearson's doing some interesting stuff with AI in their textbooks. We're going to look at that. We're going to talk about Jupyter Notebook and Stability's new stablecode, which is a code writing tool, what Microsoft's doing with Windows 11 and AI. We're going to get into NVIDIA and their new chips. And of course, we're going to talk about WorldCoin, which is from our friends at OpenAI, Sam Altman's project. It's been around for about 3 years, but it's gotten to the press the last couple of weeks because of the iris scanning, which is freaking people out. We'll talk a little bit about PayPal's new stablecoin. Wait, is crypto back? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Today you can get a POAP like always. What is a POAP, you're asking? That is a proof of attendance protocol token. You collect 5 of them and then you get invited to our super secret handshake salons, our online secret meetings, and not so secret. We talk a lot about AI. We do a bunch of prompt crafting workshops, prompt tuning, theory practice, and of course it's just a great place to meet and greet people. So collect up to 5. Well, you need 5 POAPs to get in, but you know, they're easy to get. They're free. It is a kind of crypto token. Remember NFTs? It's almost like an NFT, but there's no cost, and you can either just use a straight email, or if you've got a crypto wallet, remember those? You can put it right in your crypto wallet. ShellyPalmer.com/POAP is what's going to get you there. All right. I see an awful lot of people here today, and I'm really, really happy about it. Good afternoon, Jim Scott. And of course, Charlie from Grand Teuton Press and David Goldsmith. Glad you're here. A bunch of people here. Wow, nice crowd. So welcome everybody. Again, put your questions in chat. Joey will get them to me and I'll put them on the screen and we'll be able to answer them. Oh, we've got one coming in through text already. What's going on through AI and Zoom? Well, look, I'm going to cover that and I will cover that. Thank you, Christy. But I will get to that in a minute. We're going to start in another place today, but I will promise you I'm going to get to Zoom today. One of the funnest things that happened in the last week or so is Meta launched or made publicly available AudioCraft, which is their text-to-sound model. It's really interesting. They put up some spectacularly good demos. I mean, considering what it was. And what this system is it's a single auto-regressive language model. That may not mean much to you. You can go research that. I won't go into it deeply here because I won't go into it deeply here. But one of the most interesting things about this is that you're supposed to be able to do text-to-speech. Now, they've shown examples that let's get up. Let's actually just look at the examples that they've shown. I want to just put up their website real quick. Here's what AudioCraft looks like. Let me just get this up on the screen for you. So yeah, this is their, they're talking about the research that they've done, and they've got a bunch of demos that they've put up. They explain how they do it, and then they have a bunch of music demos that they've shown. So I went over, and then they launched this thing on Hugging Face. And here is Music Gen, which is basically their model. And I wrote something that I thought was a very simplistic. Let me make this larger for you because it's already generated. I didn't know how long it's going to take, so I already generated it. So I just wrote, if you see where I highlighted over here, a rhythm section playing a 12-bar blues with jazz changes. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, 12-bar blues is a very, very common pattern. If you go to a blues bar, you're going to hear an improv band play. People can jam for hours on 12-bar blues. It's a very standardized format with, it starts on a 1 chord, goes in, there's a 4 chord, 5 chord, the dominant chord comes back to the 1, then there's a turnaround, and it goes back and repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats. If you say to a musician, I want to play a 12-bar blues progression with jazz changes, what that says to every musician on the bandstand is that you're going to be putting a bunch of 2-5-1s, another little chord change you're going to be putting in what's known as secondary dominance. It's a very specific rule base. There's no ambiguity about that. 12-bar blues, jazz changes, if I just say that, it's so specific. I mean, anybody who's ever been in a jam session, any professional musician will just immediately understand what that means. So I thought, okay, Music Gen, you are a text to music algorithm, so you should be able to handle me saying to you a rhythm section, which is just guitar, bass, keyboard, and drums, playing 12-bar blues with jazz changes. So this is what, oh, well, let's see. Hold on a minute. Let me see if I can just quickly do this for you. This is what shows up. Let's see if we can play this. No. Not close. No. So at least this text-to-music model has no idea. Now, what's fascinating to me is that Meta put up this demo. It's 28 seconds. Let's have a listen. Where's that? First of all, none of that's awesome. It's all very, 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 very early days. But it's like, sorry, it doesn't know music speak. I couldn't think of a simpler thing to ask it than 12-bar blues with jazz changes. I guess I could have said 12-bar blues by itself, except I don't need an AI to craft a 12-bar blues pattern at all. There are 1 million tools out there that will auto-generate a progression in a lot of musical styles. There's a practice tool I use called iReal Pro, iReal Pro. It's a $4.99 app that you can get from the App Store. If you're a musician and you don't use it, it's silly because it's a fantastic app. What I like to do is choose, it's got the whole reel book in it, so you just choose standards. You sit there and run scales, I want to practice arpeggios, practice chord changes of any kind, and you can change the tempo, change the key, have the thing just cycle through all 12 keys all the time, go through tempos. iReal Pro is an amazing, and there's no AI involved. It's just a little music generator that you use to practice. And so I wanted it to do something interesting, which is understand something that the most simple musician would understand. Now, let's talk a little bit, and I hope that music wasn't too loud. I tried to adjust it in the middle. Let's talk a little bit about what maybe happening here and why this is a kind of an important moment. I'm making light of its capability set, and I am actually telling you that it's not doing its job right now. That is very different from me saying that it's not going to do its job. It is going to do its job. And the first thing it's going to eat is production music. The music that's under video games and industrial films and documentaries and interstitial music in news programming, background music, hold music on phones, any kind of elevator, like any commercial music that you don't pay attention to, that's there to support an experience. You're walking through a theme park and there's just some pleasant music happening because they don't want to call attention to other artists, or they don't want, like, whatever the programming is where music supports but is not front and center, all of that music. And many of you who are not in the business, I promise you don't pay attention to it. You just assume that it's part of the experience. That goes first. And while this tool isn't going to be the tool that does it, the tools that my friends are working on that are not public, the tools that I have seen demonstrated by some of the best AI researchers, do a much better job than AudioGen. Now, there's a pretty funny experience that I had because the Hugging Face, while I was trying to find a demo that I could do for you, that you'd enjoy, obviously, I found a different generator. This is a generator that they call music to image. Let me get this up here for you. This is their music to image generator. So you put in a piece of music and then it generates an image. So I did an awful lot of arrangements of Meow Mix, and I pulled one just now. It's called Classical Cat, even though it's a kind of a Baroque thing. I'll play it for you. It's Ariana Vanelli from the Met who's singing. I'm playing harpsichord, and I think I'm also playing a real live good old-fashioned flute on this one. Let's just listen to it real quick. So I thought that would be fun to put into their music to image generator just to see how it would interpret. It didn't ask for what it was. It just wanted to listen to the music. Here's the image it generated. She sits alone in a, this is the suggested image. I just love this thing. It's like this poor sad woman sits alone in a dimly room surrounded by old books and sheet music. She holds on to a harpsichord in her lap. She's not holding a harpsichord in this particular image. I just love this thing. I'm sorry. Let me make that stop. Anyway. Oh my goodness. Stop. Don't do it anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. What I want to do is just, no. I just want to be me. Here I am. Oh my God. So anyway, that was the text to image. This image just makes me laugh. And, all of this, and I have to say it with a totally straight face, all of this is early days. None of it is not going to work. Like, all of it's going to work, and making fun of it doesn't make sense. I have an article on Sunday. AI can hum, but is it playing music or just notes? And I really want you to think about this in the context of musicians play music when they're inspired to play music, and the people in the room are incredibly musical, and the vibe is right. If you've made it a joyous place, if you've made it a safe space, if you've made it a place where there's immense trust, if the players know each other, or if they don't know each other, respect each other, and there's good leadership in the room, which is what a good conductor or producer does. You get music. You don't get notes. Put notes on a page. You will get notes from any professional musician. They'll play it. They'll just play what's on the page. Not going to inspire you. It's just going to be the notes. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes you can't tell the difference. Sometimes players are so amazingly professional that it sounds like music, even though they're just banging out the notes to get, they got to go get a latte or they're going to go meet a friend. They have an hour booked with you and they're going to just play and go. That happens. But in practice, you want to get something great to happen. And anytime I've ever been in a room with any project that has ever gone anywhere, the stuff that's got the most amount of royalties, the stuff that the clients have paid the most money for, the stuff that has helped my career as opposed to did nothing for my career, the stuff I would put on my sample reel, all of that was created with amazing human beings who were in a place where they felt they wanted to do something amazing, and you just got lucky. And anything that's ever a hit is just purely magic, literally magic. And anyone who thinks that data is going to be the whole story, if data was the whole story, every single show on Netflix and Amazon Prime should be a hit. Every original show that they make, because they have more data about everybody who watches and what they like and when they watch and what they watch and how they watch. They should be able to craft together using that data a show that you would absolutely never turn off. And yet, they don't have any better hit ratio than anyone else because hits are magic. Sorry to mix metaphors, but at the end of the day, we're really talking about a giant difference. The most important part about this is that most music is not hit music, not the music that you get paid for. And in fact, most projects aren't hit projects. And by the way, not to put too fine a point on this, most people can't play music at all. And certainly not at a level that would allow you to sell the work product that you created with it. So, and I don't mean to be pejorative or presumptuous about it, most people can't. Most people can't draw. It's just play Pictionary with some friends and you're going to find out, who's got what. So, yeah, these tools are going to get you to a certain place and then you're going to take them farther. For now, they're going to be assistants. And what people are talking about all day long, what's next, what's really coming, Microsoft is telling us right now. They've just started to ship it. I don't like Windows 11. I only have one computer with Windows 11 on it, but Microsoft's got AI-infused sidebar in Windows 11 for beta testers right now. The little sidebar comes up, and it's basically OpenAI tools. This is unbelievable. The market's going to meet you here. You are going to have the equivalent of ChatGPT or a multimodal version of it for PowerPoint, for Excel, for Outlook, for Teams, for Word, like for everything Microsoft makes, you're going to have it. And Google Workspace, same. And pretty much everybody, Salesforce, same. So it's not so much about replacing people, it's co-piloting. Now, what does a music co-pilot look like? Had that given me a decent 12-bar blues progression with jazz changes, I could have written something over it. I could have jammed over it. I could have said, do it in the style of so-and-so, because if I said, give me 12-bar blues with jazz changes a la Oscar Peterson, I'm going to get one thing. A la McCoy Tyner, I'm going to get something else. Out of Gil Evans or Bill Evans, either of my favorite Evanses, keyboard, you're going to get something else. Like B.B. King, totally something different. So, like John Mayer, vicious guitarist, in case you haven't ever heard him just play guitar, you're going to get something completely different. But unfortunately, it's not what it does. So, these are going to be co-pilots first. Big announcement from NVIDIA. They're finally catching up to the marketplace. And this is kind of important because AMD and everybody is like getting serious AI focused chips coming out. So we're going to see the GH200 coming. It's going to be a much more powerful AI processor. Makes NVIDIA what it is. They're going to try and hold their market share. They have they're trading above their weight. They're fighting above their weight. When you think AI chips and when you think AI processing, you think NVIDIA. They're going to try and take you there and keep you there. I'm not offering investment advice. I'm not talking about investments, but from a chip perspective, if you're thinking about like what's the investable thesis around AI, one of the places you look are the chip manufacturers, for sure, for absolutely sure. Yes, we get guacamole with Chip Smart Chats, and we absolutely do. Somebody asked a question about, I thought I saw something in chat a second ago about Ed Kaloff and Frank Gehry. Have you ever met some folks who also do composing like that? I know all those guys. Sid Woloshin. I got into the music business when I was 4 years old because mom and dad owned music stores. They were music educators. They actually met at Juilliard, and they became music teachers in the New York City public school system, and then opened teaching studios in the music stores. But the first professionals that I met in the music business were, on one night, Sid Woloshin, Spencer Michelin, Don Elliott, who I didn't know at the time I was eventually going to work for, and Steve Carman, who may be the most famous of them all. They were all at a National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences drop-in dinner. It was an event called Jingle Giants, and I was in my junior year of college at NYU Film School. And these guys showed up, and they all showed off what they did. And I started working for Don because we ran into each other in a very strange way. I was looking for remember classified ads? There was a classified ad in the New York Times, Sunday New York Times, which had big classifieds, for an ARP Odyssey, which was ARP's, it was a synthesizer, analog synthesizer. It was ARP's answer to the Minimoog. It was nowhere near the same instrument. It had its own sound, and it was significantly different in every aspect of its design. But had a really nice sample and hold generator in it, and at the time Star Wars was very popular. We're talking 78 and 77s when Star Wars came out. So R2-D2 was basically a sample and hold set of sounds that Ben Burt put together. Everybody wanted them, and there was a really nice sample and hold, very easy module in the ARP Odyssey. There was one for sale, and I walked to the studio to go buy it, and the guy that owned it was Don Elliott, and after I tried it out to make sure it worked, give him the cash, he said it wasn't for sale, he was hiring me, and I was going to use it on a session the next day. So yes, I know all those guys. They were all, this is the Barry Manilow, Sid Woloshin, Steve Carman, Don Elliott, Spencer Michelin, Ed Kaloff, all those guys, all the same vintage. A little later, Susan Hamilton and HEA and a couple others. Yeah, that was an amazing business back in the late 70s, early 80s. It was not the Mad Men advertising time. That came probably 10 years earlier, but it was still a pretty spectacular time in the business. All right, moving on. I don't want to talk about Orb yet. I'm sorry. What I want to talk about is AI. Speaking of co-pilots, Jupyter Notebook, if you guys do any coding at all, use Jupyter Notebook to do any of your coding. So they've just put like a really nice AI set of tools in Jupyter for your Jupyter Notebooks. And not to be outdone, Stability just launched Stablecode, which is an LLM copilot. It's a large language model copilot for writing code. And I was using it the other day, and it's pretty great. I mean, it doesn't write for you, but it's as copilots go, it's a direct competitor to Code Interpreter, which is if you have the paid version of ChatGPT, let's see if we can find where you would find it. If you have the paid version, let me put this up on the screen. It looks like this, and you go into your plugins, you'll be able to enable. Oh my goodness, I have to hit my sidebar down here. You can enable settings. You can do custom instructions down here, and you can do Code Interpreter up in your beta infrastructure. So Code Interpreter at the bottom, you have to check it. Once it's checked, Code Interpreter is there, and then you can use there it is. You can use Code Interpreter as your model, or you could use the default GPT-4, ChatGPT with GPT-4, or of course any of your plugins. The plugin I'm using the most right now is Web Requests. It replaced, what do they call it? Link Reader, which is gone now. So I use Web Requests. It's doing a pretty decent job of Web Requests. So, that's the That's the toy of choice right now. At least that's my toy of choice. Speaking of our friends at OpenAI, they have a new policy. This thing is called GPT Bot, and it's their step towards ethical crawling, which is an interesting concept. There are a lot of people who are really, really, really upset, big feelings about how AI trains, what it trains on, and who gets to use it and what gets to happen. So I actually wrote an article back in February suggesting that there would be a file like robots.txt that you would just call AI.txt, and it would tell the AI bots not to scrape your website. Well, what they did is they just said add a line in your robots.txt file to tell the GPT bot not to scrape your site, and they will respect it. I think that's great. It's, those are voluntary, so your robots.txt file, which is sitting in the root directory of your website, yeah, a good place to tell everybody don't scrape my content. What they didn't mention is all the content that was scraped before 2021 in September, because they have the pretty much whole internet, I think most of the public internet up to that point. To that end, when you start thinking about, that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is that Zoom, the new terms of service says that they can have a good solid look at what you're doing on Zoom to train their AI models. And a lot of people are plenty pissed about it. I understand that. That should not be something that you have to do. There's now an opt-out, which I think is important. The CEO apologized and said that was just a bad call on their part and they shouldn't have done it. And they apologized and said, okay, just kidding. Maybe they're just kidding. I don't know if they are or not. What else happened? Let's get some questions here. Let's see what we got. What's this question here? I'm having a little trouble reading it. Good day, New York. The term influencer doesn't adequately describe the breadth and potential of media actors like Kai Cenat. What should we call them? That's fantastic. Thank you, Frank Q. I don't know what to call them. I've had this discussion now with a couple different experts on the subject. Chris and Ryan Dietert, who run Influential. They represent zillion influencers. And I was talking to one of the talent agents at UTA, United Talent Agency in the West Coast, about this just yesterday afternoon. So yeah, it's a really interesting question. In another meeting yesterday also on the same exact subject, Mr. Beast came up, because Mr. Beast always comes up when you talk about influencers. And I was in a meeting with a media client of ours, and they brought up the Kai Cenat thing, and they brought up the Mr. Beast experience. And if you remember, Mr. Beast, in a more peaceful way, was able to field 10,000 people at the opening of his restaurant. 10,000. By the numbers, not hyperbole, like 10,000 people showed up. And the question asked in the room was, exactly what size media schedule do you need to purchase in order to get 10,000 people to show up at a restaurant opening, physically show up? It's a great question. How much money would you need to spend to get them to come to your restaurant? Pretty impressive. So yeah, somebody that's got 10 million followers across 5 platforms, a couple million here, a couple million there, powerful. Considering that CNN, any given show is only between 500,000 and 1 million viewers on their best day and the most important moments. These numbers dwarf commercial television. Dwarf. So it's a high-end Twitch gamer, esports gamer, like somebody who's just doing a practice session on Twitch and letting people watch, can have 400,000 viewers. That's prime time on any of the network news channels, on any of the cable news channels, rather. Literally their prime time. It's the most extraordinary thing. You want to opt out of those bots, opt out of them. You want to opt out of Zoom, you should opt out of that. They're good things to know about. You have to go look at it and make sure that it's, what you want, and that it's you won't benefit from being in the program. Sometimes they give you more data or better service or better opportunities if you don't opt out. It's just a fact of life. So that's something you want to think about. Oh, that's an interesting question. I'll put this one up. I don't like politics, but this is not a politics question. What's your prediction on the effect of the Biden administration's initiative to invest big in American semiconductor chips? How's it going to affect innovation? So, if you know anything about chips and how they're made, and how long they take to make, and what all that is about, it takes years, anywhere between 5 and, in some cases, up to 15 years, but certainly more than 5 years, to build and stage a modern chip manufacturing facility. The rooms need to be clean at a level that makes operating rooms look filthy. The machines that do the ultraviolet lithography and all of the optical tools that they need to work at the sizes they're working and the different ways that they layer these wafers in order to make them what they are, to put the billions of transistors on these wafers. They're just super specialized stuff. A thunderstorm in a building that's not properly shielded can ruin a batch. It's that crazy. So, yeah, I think you can't invest enough. If you want to think strategically for a moment, not politically, just geopolitical strategy as opposed to politics. The most important chip manufacturing facility in the world is on the island of Taiwan, 5 minutes from China. China would like Taiwan back. In fact, they think it belongs to them now. If anything happens to the most sophisticated factories on the island of Taiwan, we're going to be in the chip stone ages for a couple of years while we try and recover from it. So, strategically, for no other reason than you don't want to be held hostage, you can think of the oil cartels in the 70s and what they did to the universe with oil prices in the 70s when we were completely dependent on foreign oil, specifically cartel oil from the Middle East, and what kind of economic turmoil that caused. Is there a thing you do anywhere, anytime, ever that doesn't have chips? Anywhere? The answer is no. They're going to put chips literally in our breakfast cereal at a certain point. So we should strategically have as much of that manufacturing here as humanly possible. Weirdly, it was invented here. That's what Silicon Valley was about. Bob Noyce and Gordon Moore and of Moore's Law. I mean, those are the guys put this together. And then Japan took over, and then ultimately Taiwan. So it was RAM chips that were generally usable. They were general purpose DRAMs that changed the balance of power, because that all started to get made over in Japan, and then ultimately Korea, and then Taiwan. The hardcore computer stuff was later, but they were banging out DRAM chips in the 80s, and the United States was really behind it, and went to the government, and they were crying. The Silicon, all the associations that have formed around Silicon Valley and chip manufacturing all formed in the 80s when they all gathered back together. Texas Instruments and Intel at that point, and a couple others went to the government and said, wow, Japan's kicking our butts. There are a couple of good books on this subject. The most important thing we could do right now as a country, if we're thinking about our future, I shouldn't say the most important thing, one of the most important things, because there's climate change, and there's the crazy division between the left and the right, and there's plenty of things. There's wealth inequality. There's all kinds of nonsense that needs to be dealt with climate change. Chip sovereignty, right up there with energy sovereignty from my perspective. I can't think of anything. if you don't think you need any more computers, if you don't think you need any more AI, if you don't think you need any more compute power or data governance, data hygiene, data policy, the ability to, build big clouds and process data, then you're not going to have to worry about it too much. But no, I think it's really important. So that's a good question. Thanks for asking. What else do we have here? Am I using an eCam to broadcast? This is from Bobby. Am I using eCam to broadcast? I am not, actually. I am using vMix, VMIX, as my system. It's on a big PC, and I'm just streaming directly from vMix to YouTube with a straight connection directly into their API, their streaming API. Nothing special. Anyone can do it. vMix is an amazing program. It allows you to do the kind of fun stuff we're doing here, and I can control it all myself. I have wipes if I want to wipe between. I can merge things, or I can sting back. I can play videos like I was doing before. I can play audio, so I can do it all. It's like being a little bit of a DJ. Sort of fun. A lot of fun, actually. All right, let's look down. A couple things. Remember, you can. Speaking of stinging through, you can get your POAP. POAPs are important. No one ever does this, and I don't even know how to ask for it anymore. Could you please X about this? That's ridiculous. You can X about it at Shelly Palmer. Xing sounds like a plan. If you want to know more about the things we're doing in AI, you can go to shellypalmer.com/AI. There's reference pages there of all kinds. They're all free, so there's no obligation. Also, when you're there, you can go over to courses.shellypalmer.com, and there we have generative AI for execs. It's completely free. There's no ads in it. There's nothing to distract you. It's 2 sections. There's a learning section, overview of what AI is and what it is not, very importantly. Prompt crafting and prompt engineering, a good solid primer to give you a good base of how to do it. And those come with some questions and answers so that you can take little quizzes and test your knowledge to make sure you're coming out of there well prepared. And then the second half of the course is thought leadership, and it frames the copyright issue and the training issue. So we talk a little bit about those ethics and what may or may not be possible to solve for those problems. We're also, what else is there? There's really decent coverage, if I do say so myself, of the more esoteric aspects of AI and how to use your own data privacy, data sovereignty, where your own data governance and data policies would intersect with your ability to get the most out of these tools. So I hope you'll go there. And just while I'm on the shameless promo thing, these conversations continue on Discord. I can't speak anymore. Discord every day. So we're always doing that on a regular basis. All right, last few minutes, I want to cover craziness. Is crypto back? Well, WorldCoin has been around for about 3 years, and it finally launched. This is from Sam Altman at OpenAI, and he's and some others. They got very, very popular a week or so ago when it launched. They were in the they were in the news a lot because they were doing iris scanning, and everybody wigged out that they're storing your iris and that you're going to be I don't know, somehow this is invading your privacy in a way that just having a phone isn't. And I have to tell you that the way they're doing this is so good from a decentralized identification perspective. There are a couple different strategic concepts being displayed here: self-sovereignty or self-sovereign identification and decentralized identification. In a self-sovereign world, you are in charge of your data. Nobody can send you stuff or use your data unless you give permission for them to do so. And in a decentralized environment, it's just that. It's checkable everywhere. The iris scan isn't stored on your device. The iris scan is just used to make sure one person, one wallet, it's really, really you. Once it's really you, that's about as good a fraud prevention as you're going to get. And they've done everything they can do to ensure that you can't game the system, which doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means they've done everything they can to ensure it. Is an iris scan more dangerous than a password? Is it more dangerous than a crypto wallet address being available in a file somewhere, assuming you could get to it? And the answer is no. It's probably less useful.
Could you try again?
So anyway, I would urge you to do some reading about zero knowledge proofs, to do some reading about decentralized ID and self-sovereign ID. We do have a course at shellypalmer.com, at courses, at the same place, at courses.shellypalmer.com. There is a Web3 course there, and Metaverse, and there's also a crypto and NFT course. They're all free. The crypto course totally covers decentralized identification, and if you're more interested in Web3 and the Metaverse, it covers it there too. So that's something you should look into. Let's give our boy Sam a break. You may not care for the WorldCoin idea. I think it's a pretty good idea. It's very much in the spirit of what cryptocurrency was invented to do. And if you think back to the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper about Bitcoin from 2008, that was looking at what Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever that may be, it's a pseudonym, if it's even a real person, might be a group of people. That paper, though, the white paper, which you can find it by just Googling Satoshi Nakamoto white paper, was in direct response to the 2008 financial crisis and what the person believed, or people believed, was a broken financial system. So we're having all kinds of trouble with banks right now, and we just had some big bank failures. And is WorldCoin an answer to that? It's one of the potential answers. So you have to not just throw it out as, oh, crypto's done. Crypto's not done. The need for real decentralized, internationally global, available global coins, it's the same as it was in 2008. And they're onto something because our friends at PayPal, they have a new dollar-pegged stablecoin. And what a stablecoin is a little different than cryptocurrency. Here, the crypto itself represents an actual dollar or a published fraction of a dollar. So by pegged, they mean one coin, $1. One coin, is always going to be exchangeable for a buck. With PayPal behind it, that's a pretty cool thing. So you got to figure, WorldCoin's launched, PayPal's coming out, got a couple other ones just starting. Maybe the SEC is going to figure itself out. We spent a lot of time talking blockchain, Web3, and crypto the last couple of years. It's definitely the crypto winter. Again, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. If you're going to make an investment in crypto, please consult a licensed financial advisor. This is for your entertainment and information only. But ETH is at like 1851 today, and Bitcoin's just bubbling under 30,000. These are fractions of where they were a couple of years ago. You had $4,000 ETH, and you had $50,000 Bitcoin, and everybody was speculating, and it was a feeding frenzy. And to be fair, it's good that all of that is over. The underlying technology, this idea of a decentralized store of value, method of exchange, and method of account, is as valid today as it was then. The speculators have run for the hills. I don't see that as a bad thing. I really don't. So you should look into WorldCoin, see if makes any sense to you, and you should look into PayPal's new stablecoin, not to make an investment, again, not investment advice, just to understand why companies of this size are spending time and energy bringing these products to the marketplace. That's the ask. Go find out why. Go learn about it on your own, because I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it. But again, we have a pretty decent primer available at courses.shellypalmer.com if that's of interest to you. The last thing we're going to talk about today is, don't forget, your POAP is at shellypalmer.com/POAP. If you want to go and do a little conversing on Discord with everybody that's here, almost everybody here every week is almost there every day. And if you don't mind, you could be Xing. I can't get used to it. 2X, IX, UX, they X, Elon X's. I don't know. Anyway, this is always my favorite time of the week, and I really appreciate everybody being here, and I want to thank you for spending time with me today. If you've got a better place than X to talk about stuff, send me an email. You can do that, Shelly@shellypalmer.com. I am always happy to have an email from you. I do my very best to answer them. So yeah, please just send me an email, and if you got a better idea than X, I am all ears. Thank you all very, very much. I want you to have a safe, amazing week, and I will see you right back here next Wednesday at 12:15 Eastern for another edition, if you will, of Shelly Palmer Live. And I'll still be live, I promise. Take care.